Ooh, right there. Hey, wait. 20 pulls on it. Okay. Woo! Forged in propane over there. It's hitting right there. Set the toe.
And let her go.
Murphy, wake up. Well, that doesn't look promising. So that's not good. Well, welcome back to the Sleeper Dude YouTube channel. After our trip to the dyno and just beating on this thing relentlessly, it's time to do a little bit of health check on this thing. I haven't drove it on the street. I've been waiting to turn the boost back down because right now it's set on 17 pounds, and if you watched the dyno video already, you know it made less power at 17 pounds than it did at 11 pounds. So I'm gonna turn it back down to 11 pounds is my plan. Change the oil, change the plugs, check the valves, just make sure everything's good to go. I really didn't want to get out and drive it and hurt something. With it killing power at 17 pounds, it looks like we definitely have a lot of exhaust back pressure with these headers, and that's not easy on the motor if you got all that pressure against the exhaust valves, and I just don't want to hurt anything, basically. Let's get right into it, start tearing into this thing. We may even end up doing more things that I haven't thought about yet. I also want to drive it. Hey, Mike. So let's get right into it. Mike. I'm going to start with this valve cover here, and these things were leaking like crazy, especially the other side. And if I remember, I think I had 2 sets of valve cover gaskets on this at the same time. I was worried that it might have been hitting the bottom of the valve cover. That was probably a big mistake. I ended up getting some brand new gaskets that are like steel core with rubber on the outside, basically the best thing I could find. So hopefully we can fix our leak, because I don't like leaving puddles in the floor. And the racetrack does not like it when you show up and your car is leaking on the track. You pretty much don't get to run anymore. I wanted to fix that as well before we take this thing to the racetrack. If you got an old school engine like this, having studs on the valve covers really makes it a lot easier getting them on and off. That stuff don't really matter when you got, you know, like an LS motor where it's bolts down the middle. But it's hard to keep the gaskets in place. Nothing scary in there. It smells like ethanol. You will get some in your crankcase just from, I guess it gets past the rings because it runs really rich. Yeah, I've got 2 sets of valve cover gaskets on it, so that was probably a mistake on my part. I wish it was smell vision. You can really smell the ethanol in the fuel. I know it's running kind of rich at idle. I need to mess more with that. I've messed with it a little bit and I thought I had it, but here lately it really seems to flood on startup. I'm really proud of this engine though, considering what we did with it so far. I know it didn't make the power we expected, but it's got to be making 600 at the crank. We pulled it hard again and again, and she did good. She held up just fine. Nothing scary so far. Nothing feels loose. And these are really stiff. They got grooves in them, I guess, to keep the oil in. And they're really thick. It may be as thick as both those gaskets. I still got some unanswered questions on what was up with this thing, why it didn't make any more power. I knew my exhaust was going to be restrictive, especially on that side, but I thought though that, you know, instead of making 800 horsepower, it might make 750, 725. But if the exhaust is truly the problem, it's crazy that it could restrict it that much. And potentially, if you put a really crazy set of good flowing exhaust headers on it, it could pick up huge. I just don't know how I'm going to fit it. This is a hydraulic cam, so I don't really plan on readjusting the valves. I just wanted to make sure everything felt right. So unless I find one that's just super loose, I'm just going to leave them alone. I just wanted to make sure we didn't kill a lifter or something on the dyno and I don't realize it. The only thing in this system that I'm a little worried about is these, once again, are like really cheap off-brand roller rockers. I've actually thought about going to like a 1.5 rocker just to like take some lift out of it for Valvetrain life, but haven't done that yet though. Well, I'm going to put this valve cover right back on. Yeah, the studs help so much. And having that gasket with a steel core, it keeps its shape, because the cork ones and that other one that was like a cheapy rubber one, they don't keep their shape at all. So hopefully this will fix our leak. One thing you don't want to do is just absolutely crush the gasket. I see people do that, you know, you got like a cork gasket especially, and you're just cranking on the ratchet. It seems like some people do that thinking they will not leak. I like to never even get my hand out here on the ratchet, just, you know, give it just a little bit. I really prefer to do it with a 1/4-inch ratchet. Okay, let's go to the other side and see what it looks like. I guess I put my fuel pressure sensor right in the wrong place. This side is more of a pain to get off. You gotta remove the fuel pressure sensor, so. There's no other port though. I guess I could drill one here right in the fuel rail and screw it into that, but I don't know. I hate to drill holes and stuff like that that has pressure on it and possibly have a leak. But yeah, maybe I need to move the regulator, but the lines are already cut and made. This side was leaking even worse, especially back here. Looked like Deepwater Horizon when we backed off that dyno. I should have been videoing. I took this out and just a little bit of fuel dribbled out, and I was like, I'll pull the fuel line out too. And I did that, tons of fuel went everywhere. So really smells like ethanol now. It's really the only way though to get these out easily. Again, nothing looks like it's up there. Ooh. That's loose. Okay, I guess I should have left the other valve cover off, because now I'm gonna have to run the valves. I wonder why our lash has changed. You hurt something? I hope not. Man, I hope not. Not normal for a hydraulic cam though to change lash. Let me get my camera down in here and see if we see anything weird. Yeah, I'll have to pull that other valve cover back off. That nut's not backed off. All these feel tight. Ugh. This is why you check stuff, guys. I've got a hole here I can go down into where the lifters are. Which one is it? It's the next set of lifters over there. I see rollers. Everything looks fine there. The one closest to you is the one that has excessive lash. Well, I don't see anything weird there. The link bar's still there. Lifter's pointed the right direction and all. Let me look at the roller tip on it. Oh, this is hard to do. It's hard to figure out which direction you're going. Okay, ooh, there's my timing chain. Right there. Oh, she looks round. Crazy we have these cameras and stuff now, huh? Back in the day, you just had to take it apart. There's my head gasket. Well, there's no parts in the lifter valley that I see. There's the bottom of our intake and heads. Look the other direction here. Make sure there's no parts this way. Everything looks intact. Okay. I'll pull that push rod out and we'll look at it. Okay. See if we see any visible damage on any of this. The rollers and the cup and everything on the roller rocker seem fine. We've got 3/8 push rods. They're beefy boys. I can see where it was touching the guide plate, but it doesn't look like anything excessive went on there. The tip that was up here near the rocker has more like shininess to it than the side of the lifter, but the rocker is moving and the lifter isn't. Well, oil can go through it. Let me look down through there again, make sure I don't see anything wrong with the lifter. If not, I guess we'll just set the lash and check all the other ones. I don't know. The stud doesn't seem to be coming out of the head. That's all tight. I don't see any excessive wear on the top of the valve stem. I'm gonna go straight down through the push rod hole now. Now it's out of the way. Nothing looks funky there. The guts aren't blown out of the lifter. Everything looks to be where it's supposed to be. I don't know, guys. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I adjusted it wrong. Hopefully this is only one. If I'm gonna set the valves, I've gotta pull the plugs anyway. To look at them, I might as well just pull all the plugs and make this a lot easier on myself. I think I'm just going to, hey, wait. I think I may have seen our problem, guys. I wish I would have paid attention to that. Maybe this is it. So on these rollers, one side is round and the other side has a flat edge. And it sure enough looks like we have pretty obvious wear marks. See the shiny spots on the edges? I think I may have had the roller upside down, and I think it may have kind of flattened that out, going up and down a million times a second. I think I may have had this rocker bearing upside down. That's what it looks like. Anyway, what I was saying, I'm gonna pull all the plugs, check all the valves. I went to put it back together. That is 100% what I did. You see how bad that looks? You can see where it's been pushing against a round surface. So check your rockers, guys. Make sure you're screwing this down the flat part. Well, I went over every one of them, and this was the only issue right there. So just watch your roller, guys, when you're doing your valves, I guess. I don't see anything else. I went ahead and just took every one off and looked at it, made sure I had it on the right side, looked at every push rod, pulled it out. Everything seems fine. I pulled all the plugs. All the plugs look even. I don't really see anything that scares me on the plugs. It doesn't look like we had too much timing in it. Like a lot of times if you get heat down into here, like you start discoloring the threads, you know, like 2 or 3 threads down, you know you get a lot of cylinder heat. It kind of does look like the passenger side, this plug here, was a little hotter than the driver's side, which would make sense because if it's a back pressure issue on the headers, it's going to be like these cylinders are going to be the worst. See, if you line up with the strap, see how this one looks like it's more heat affected down to the threads than the other one? I don't know. So I'm going to put a fresh set of plugs in it, put the valve covers back on. I think everything looks good there. I got all the plugs put in there. I gapped them down to 25 thousandths, which probably makes no difference. I had them gapped at 28. Well, maybe we're blowing spark out, but it didn't feel like we were blowing spark out. Usually when I've had that happen to cars, they just like won't rev any higher. I'm gonna change the oil now. Make sure we have nothing weird going on here with the oil. On an ethanol car like this, it will smell like ethanol, the oil will, but I'm just making sure there's no coolant in it. No metal shavings in it, stuff like that. See anything weird? We were still getting like 80 plus pounds of oil pressure on our very last pulls, which was the same we got at the beginning of the day. He was impressed by my cooling system because it never got over 165 or so during the whole day, doing like 20 pulls on it. Proud of this motor. I actually just talked to a company that makes log style headers that are better designed than what I have, so we may be trying something like that out, see if it fits. We just don't have a lot of options, really. We don't have a lot of room. Okay, I don't see nothing there that scares me. We'll put a new Wix HP oil filter on it and fill this thing up. Nothing scary there. If we had something bad happen, like start losing oil pressure or whatever, I'd probably cut it open, but I'm not too worried about it because it seems like everything's good. Don't see any shavings or anything coming out of there, no bearing material. We're gonna say clean bill of health on the oiling system. Well, today's oil is 5W40 synthetic premium blue, heavy duty diesel and gasoline engines. Traditionally, I've ran Rotella. Honestly, I'm not very brand loyal on oil. I usually just get 5W40 diesel oil. I'd like to try like a 5W50 on this thing. The more torque you make, especially your horsepower, you have more bearing load. You need thicker oil, you need that film strength at full temperature to protect your bearings. So that 40, you know, it's thicker oil, but it'd probably be better to run like a 550 in this, but that's not a super common oil. I remember like the GT500s from a few years ago that they recommended 550. I think it's like a Motorcraft synthetic 550. So I may need to look into that. I know there's like really good racing oils out there, whatever, Amsoil or something, but man, they're just so expensive. I've never had any trouble running this kind of oil. You know, I've never had a race car where I screwed up the bearings in it from just too much torque and horsepower. So I've just stuck with 540. Time to change out the wastegate spring here. Eventually, I want to have boost control from the computer, you know? I've never had that in any car I've ever owned. I think it would be really neat to be able to like ramp power in or, you know, turn it up and down on the fly. There's mechanical ways to do that without a computer that I've done before. Okay, she's gone. There's no point in leaving this thing at 17 pounds when it made less power there. We really weren't making hardly anything above like 40 to 100, I think, at 17 pounds. So as cool as it sounds to say, oh, I'm on 17 pounds, big block twin turbo, it don't do you no good if it's faster on 11. There's probably an argument to turn it down to like 5 or 6 pounds, but you know, it made the most peak power at 11. Although it did kind of drop off on the power band up high. It's got 90 pounds of pressure on it, if you remember. I need to get some like longer bolts so I could start them farther back. It's got some really short bolts. Of course, these are just no-name wastegates. Woo! Wow, man, that was a jack in the box, wasn't it? I think it pulled the last thread out. That's what I was afraid of. Guess I should have had a hold of it better. I probably have to get Pecos's help to put this back together. I'll look and see if I have any longer bolts. I doubt I have enough if I have longer ones. So I ended up going to town because it'll make it a lot easier and we'll get more threads on this. I got these bolts, which this is M6 by 1.0, and this is 30 millimeters long. It's like twice as long. So that should make it a lot easier to put the springs in. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough to do all of them. I think I got like 12 of these and I need like 16 or something, so that bums me out. But anyway, we'll do what we can. And even just having one on each side will help out a lot. These stupid things are like $3 for 2 of them. Highway robbery, right, Ralph?
Yeah, you ready?
I'm born ready. I think I'm gonna have to do that part and you're gonna have to do this part.
Can I try it first? I just wanna see if I can.
I'd love for you to try it.
You ready?
Nope. This is gonna be a little easier, I think, right here. Because these just don't have great threads, you know?
Yeah.
You buy the best parts money can buy and you still have trouble. They should come with bolts this long. That would make it so much easier.
You gotta think, mass production.
I know, no, yeah, I was gonna say, what they're thinking about is, if that bolt's like 1 millimeter shorter, it saves them like 1 penny.
In the long run, it makes sense, I guess. How do I go that?
You didn't even ask. I was sitting here wondering, where's he going? He just lets go of it. How do you feel about us turning the boost down?
I don't want to say something super mean.
It makes more power on less boost, so no reason to stress the motor out.
Yeah, but it's cool.
To say you're making 17 pounds of boost?
And it just sounds cooler, I think.
Well, it's cooler when you're like the guy that his car's at the house. Then you don't have to prove that it's fast and you could say it's on 17 pounds.
Yeah.
If you're out here actually trying to go fast, you want to make the most power. Even if that's less boost or less timing or whatever.
Facts.
Yeah, this is gonna make it so much easier. Man, I just wish I had enough to do all of them. Hopefully you can hear me over Forged in Propane over there. He's going at it. That made that like 1,000,000 times easier. So definitely do that. It kind of cut its own threads down through here because there's a hole, but it slightly interferes, so it kind of had to cut its own threads. It made it super easy. I actually started 2 of them over here before I took this 90-pound spring out. Made it so much easier because you get it up higher and the spring has less pressure and it just easier. I think we properly health checked the motor. I can't think of anything else we need to do. I don't think I can get a leak down tester in there with this header, so I believe we're done with that. I think I want to check the front end alignment real quick because I've never done that before. This thing has QA1 caster camber plates from whoever built it before. If you look, this is your caster here. It's like equal on both sides, so we're assuming they've done an alignment already, but for some reason they didn't give it all the caster, and Daddy likes to use all the caster. So
What's caster?
it's the relationship from the upper pivot point to the lower pivot point, how much of an angle that is, and you really want it back as far as you can, especially like on a drag car. You just want it to go straight. So the more cast you have, the more the steering wheel goes back to center, the more it goes straight. So I'm gonna move these as far back as possible. I'm not too worried about the camber. I would like my caster to be all the way back though. I gotta take the weight off the front end here, make this a lot easier. So we've never done a front end alignment since we built the car. Last motor that was in here was a small block Ford, so a lot different weight. Maybe this bad boy will do it. Wow. Okay. All right, we're going back. More caster. Hopefully there's not a reason why they didn't do this. Let's do the other side. There's Mike again. That man just runs the roads. That's all he does. Why won't this move? This suspension looks to be installed a long time ago. Why don't you stay back there? Oh, it's hitting right there. I may have to adjust the other one back forward a little bit. That's as far as this one can go back without pulling the strut and grinding on the tower. Oh, we got some more out of it though. That's better than what we had. You can see this one didn't quite go all the way back. So we'll set the other one kind of like this. Guys, you've been asking for a long time. We finally have a Wall and Ralphie shirt. Look, we got the Ralphie Look at Them Dime shirt. YouTube certified welder. Can you believe it? Look, even got his name tag on there. And we got the Wall shirt with her Beetle on there. You guys have been asking for that forever. Rocky's even on there with his sunglasses on. So go check it out at thesleeperdude.com. So get them while they last. We got a limited number of them. We also got hats, hoodies, lots of other t-shirts, lots of stickers, artwork from the kids, a little bit of everything. So go check it out at thesleeperdude.com. As always, thanks for your support. Got my little alignment thing on here now. 0.8 of a degree of negative camber, right? Okay, that's probably pretty good, I would think. It's just enough negative. You want a little bit of negative. What are you? Wow, 0.8 of a degree. Okay, they're dead even on camera. Somebody knew what they were doing on the alignment. All right, we're gonna measure caster now. That takes a helper with this setup. I wanna hold the brake so it doesn't roll. It doesn't tell you that in the kit, but that's an important step. All right, zeroed out.
There you go. That seems good.
All right, what's it say?
1.8.
Well, we measured the other side, and unfortunately, it's 1.0. So 1.0 times 1.5 is 1.5 degrees of caster, right?
Yep.
That's nothing. I don't like that, but that's all the adjustment we have on that side. So we've got to match this side to that side. So this one's 1.8. What's 1.8 times 1.5?
Let me think.
So that's 2.7 degrees of caster on this side, which I would like to have more than that, but it doesn't look like I have that option. So I'm gonna have to bring this forward to where we can get 1.5 degrees of caster on this side. So you take whatever that thing tells you and multiply it by 1.5. Let's say I'm gonna have to go back to where I was on this side.
1.5.
Still too much. Well, literally after 10 tries, we finally got it the same on both sides. That one's sitting all the way back, and this one's sitting almost all the way forward. So something's wonky, probably like 80s Ford quality is what's probably wonky there. Our camber's identical, our caster's identical. Now we just gotta set the toe.
And let her go.
Okay, ma'am. What do we got here, Ralph? 69 3/4. Shoot, it's like 69
7/8.
3/8. So this thing is towed out. It needs to be like towed in like 1/8 of an inch. So I'm definitely way off on that. I don't think what we did should have affected that. The toe was not set, but this thing weighs quite a bit more than the old motor. This is front steer, so I've got to go tighter in with these. It's nice, these cars don't have all the things that wear out in the front end, they just have a steering rack. You getting closer?
Yeah.
I'm adjusting both sides evenly. You don't want to do it just on one side. 69.5, 69 and 11/16.
Oh yeah, that's going right.
So 69.5, so this needs to be
69 3, no,
5/8, right?
5/8, yeah.
Needs to be right there. We're right there.
Okay.
I mean, we're so close. I might need to back it up just barely, but we're just a touch over.
What?
Let me back it up one
That
more.
big dash or what?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
69 5/8. All right, we're good. The toe was pretty far off. Everything else was, really the only the camber was good, right?
Yeah.
I got a lot done this evening. A lot of this stuff's really time consuming. We got it lined up, got the oil change, got the plugs changed, checked the valves, found a problem, fixed the problem. We won't let Ralphie put the rockers on no more.
I didn't. Okay, I think I did.
I don't know who did it. I'm just kidding with you, man. And we turned the boost down from 17 to back to 10 or 11 pounds. Sometimes the boost may be different from the dyno to the road. So it could be different because the load. I guess I need to drive it, huh? See what it does. Let's take her down the road. But that's going to be tomorrow because it's dark.
Shoe up.
Murphy, wake up. Murphy, move. Finally. Well, good morning. I am going to do a little bit of startup tuning here because this thing, for whatever reason, just seems rich. It seemed rich on gasoline, and then I was like, okay, I'll put ethanol in it. It's already rich. It shouldn't flood anymore because, ethanol wants more fuel. That doesn't seem to fix it either. And I actually leaned out my startup enrichment a bunch. It's still not happy. So I guess I'm going to have to lean it out even more. So this is where I leaned out a bunch. Like this was like way up here. And I thought, okay, now it'll be perfectly fine. And it's only adding 20% of fuel at the temperature right now, which I guess is about 78 degrees. I really don't know that our problem is here. 20% doesn't seem like much extra fuel. This is basically your choke, okay? Right here, the decay rate, this is how long that it stays in this mode. So it only stays in this mode for 10 seconds. So maybe it's like temperature enrichment. Maybe this is how much fuel it adds based on the temperature. So I think I may take this out, honestly, and unless it gets down to like really cold temperatures. So I think I'm just gonna put this at 100% and see what happens. There we go. So now it won't add any fuel unless the coolant temp is like 40 degrees and below. We'll try that. Okay, so it also has something here. As the coolant temperature goes down, so this changes the target air fuel ratio. Okay, well let's zero that out too. We'll just zero everything out and try that. Because I had never looked at that. Okay, it's adding some here too. I'm just gonna zero all this stuff out to 100. This is, it starts richening the air fuel ratio above 220 degrees air inlet temp going in the motor. Well, maybe that'll help start up. I think I may have just had too many layers of things adding fuel. And if it starts okay, I'm gonna mess around with this too. This should be pretty close numbers on our VE table. We'll see. I wanna mess with that too and see if it likes it or not. All right, let's try it. I took 10 numbers out of the idle commanded fuel. That. Took too much out. It definitely wants more fuel. So my VE table there was like in the mid to high 50s, and I dropped it down 10 numbers to 45-ish, and it has a real stumble now when you give it throttle. And obviously it won't want to start there. Let me mess around with some more numbers here, see what we can get. I actually increased the pounds per hour of fuel it puts to it at cranking. I put the fuel map back where it was at idle, but we don't have all that other enrichment stuff we were doing. It flooded. That was too much. So I ended up looking at the timing map. I was moving the fuel up and down. It didn't seem to matter. It seems to like about 5% less fuel in the base fuel map than what I had. But I noticed that it was kind of searching for its idle speed. On my ignition timing, it was going like in different cells with different numbers and kind of hunting around. So I just highlighted that whole area. I've had more timing in it than what most people have at idle. I think the base tune from Holly was like 18 degrees. So I went back to 18 and it just like almost wouldn't idle. So I bumped the whole area where it idles up to 30 degrees and it seemed to love it. So I think this motor just likes timing. It seems to like that. The only thing I got to work on now is the base cranking fuel to start up. So I cut that number in half from where I changed it to. We'll see if it starts. So the cranking pounds per hour right here is 25. I think that's pretty good. I think we're good. Okay, we'll try that. I think that helped. Test drive time. I added a little fuel at like 1200 RPM. See if I get the Strelin to come off idle. We're getting it sorted out. I want to do a foot brake test. I wish I had a sticky surface though. We're going to data log foot brake test. It's always spun before it actually built any boost. See how it does right now. My brakes pumped up. Spun really early. I think it was like 2400 RPM it spun. I'll look at the data log. Well, that doesn't look promising. We hit like 2500 RPM like I thought. Air fuel ratios were in the 12, so if your car is like overly rich or lean, or if your timing's way off, like you have really low timing, you'll struggle to get up on the foot brake. But if you look, we had 33 degrees of timing there, 35 degrees of timing. So I had plenty of timing. Apparently it was a little lean, but the closed loop fixed it. So I may need to add some fuel in that area, because you want it like lean and mean leading up to boost, and then once you've started building boost, then you want to pull timing to make it build even more boost, but you don't want to do it early. It looks like to have any chance, I'd have to have like a 2400 RPM, maybe 2500 RPM max two-step RPM, which is very sad. So probably the issue here is when I spec'd out this torque converter, it was with the old cam, which would have made power at a lot lower RPM. I think we have too tight a converter, unfortunately. We may be able to work around it though. We'll see. I'm going to change the two-step down to like 2400 and see what that does. So that's where it was at in the fuel table when it did this. I'm going to add 5%. We'll see what that does. That's the only thing I saw that was a little off. The closed loop fixed it, so it shouldn't affect anything on how it performed, but you know, you want to get it close. That's about 1,000 RPM lower than what I thought we'd be at on this. It's kind of becoming a theme with this car. That sounds a little better, doesn't it? Sounds more like a turbo car. Let's stop the data log and look at that. So we actually built some boost this time. Almost 3 pounds of boost. 2.7 before I lifted. It would probably still launch like a turtle there, because you're at 2450 RPM, you're at 2 pounds of boost, 30 degrees of timing. It probably wouldn't be anything amazing there. Now I have it set up in my advanced tables to pull timing once it hits, I think, 3 pounds of boost, maybe 4. So I think I may drop that number down to 2 and see if it hates it or loves it. It might actually be making enough to overpower it, but we didn't spin this time, which is nice. It almost spun. It may have barely cracked the casing, and then it went on the two-step. So let's look at our advanced tables here. It starts pulling timing when it sees 3 pounds of boost. I want to make it where this ramp down in timing, which creates more exhaust energy, I think, and that's what builds more boost. It may fall on its face because it may not have enough power to overcome it then, but we'll see. So now I'll start pulling timing when it gets past 2 pounds of boost, and by 2.7 pounds of boost, it pulls 5 degrees. By 3.3 pounds of boost, it pulls 7. And if it has enough donkeys to overcome it, it might hit something like this because of pulling the timing. Let's try one more time. I don't know if it did better. 3.1 pounds of boost, and the timing at that point was down to 24 degrees. It doesn't seem to be like building boost, it's just kind of laying flat. Yeah, I don't know that that helped anything. It sounded better before. It sounded like it actually had some power. It doesn't seem to be overpowering the converter at all. So that's not good. I probably need to do a test launch and just see if it even likes it, but I may go back to where we were at before on that launch thing. I don't see anything that worries me though. I mean, the air fuels are good. I don't think I can bump the RPM really. I probably could bump the RPM if we were at the track where it was on a stickier surface. It would probably act quite a bit differently at the track, having that stickier surface. I'm honestly surprised it built boost sitting still at 2400 RPM. That's a low RPM to build boost at. I think I may try one more thing. It was at like 30 degrees of timing at 2 pounds of boost, which is probably where we need to be at a higher RPM level. But in the past in my turbo cars, if I gave a bunch of timing leading up to the launch RPM, it helped. So it may actually want more timing right there. I think I'm going to give it a bunch of timing around that 2500 mark. Then once it's actually made the boost, start pulling it out at a higher RPM. So this is your RPM here. So as it goes up, the RPM goes up. So out here, I do want, 30 degrees of timing at 6,000 RPM and 2 pounds of boost or whatever. It could probably take more than that, honestly. I know we tuned it at 5 pounds and it wanted like 29, 30 degrees. So right here at lower RPM where it's only at on the two-step, I'm gonna add timing there. I'm gonna bump this up a few degrees. So we're at 36, and see right there when it builds a pound of boost, it goes to 32 and then it goes to 30. I think I wanna highlight this whole area here and make it like 36. See, if I do that whole area right there like that, it'll give me 36 degrees of timing until we get to like 3600 RPM. Then once we get to like 38 and 4,000, the thing's actually building some power and moving, it'll pull it back out. I'm gonna see what that does. I'm gonna do another test here and add another 100 RPM to the launch. Look how nice this thing starts now. You ready? Pops right off, doesn't it? That was too much RPM. That didn't seem to make any difference. Nothing looked better. Had 3 pounds of boost, had 31.5 degrees of timing, starting to pull some timing. I don't think it really liked that. We just need more RPM. It needs a higher stall converter, I think, to really build some boost. I think I'm gonna take it out and see what it does though on this. See if it loves it or hates it. Our fuel seems good now. I don't see anything else that jumps out at me.
You boys like Mexico?
Well, the rain kind of cut my testing short. I've got a little bit of an exhaust leak I need to fix on the car. And obviously we got a couple things we got to sort out. Possible mechanical issues with maybe the headers or the torque converter, maybe gearing. So we got some things to change, but we'll get it all sorted out. Thanks for watching this video. Looks like the engine's healthy. Looks like it's running pretty strong. I think we made some progress. So we'll see you in the next one.